Let's unbox the Black Series 6-inch figure of Omega in her Mercenary Gear. Villa Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it. Hello there, thanks for visiting Villa Varykino. The Bad Batch animated series has wrapped up 3 amazing seasons, but I'm not done yet. So I'm continuing my Black Series Bad Batch unboxings today with Omega. This one we actually saw on display at Celebration Europe in London. It was really fun to see a preview of the figure before we got our hands on it. And as you can see, Omega in her Mercenary Gear came out during that brief period of time where Hasbro was, shall we say, experimenting with the plastic-free packaging. So I haven't actually seen the figure inside of this packaging. So got a little bit of a preview there at Celebration, but now it's finally time to get her out of the box. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Coming up really soon, I'll get the Omega figure out of the box. We can take a closer look at all of the cool details. But first, let's go over this cardboard box. We've got a pretty standard Black Series box, but of course we can see that it says plastic-free packaging. We have a glossy image of Omega in her Mercenary Gear on the front there. I am glad this was short-lived. I much prefer the windows so we can see the figure inside. It's a fun pose here from Omega, but I think I would have still preferred the figure there. For the Bad Batch series of the Black Series figures, we have this dark red sort of maroon color stripe here. It's a little bit harder to read. It says Star Wars The Bad Batch in black text there, and the character name here is written in that dark red color, Omega Mercenary Gear, because of course this is Omega as we see her in season 2. So she's left Kamino and her original outfit behind. She still has her energy bow here, but we've got a whole new outfit. So I do have the first version of the Black Series Omega outfit to compare later on once we've taken a closer look at this mercenary version, because I'm really keen to see the two together. On the side, we have artwork here of Omega, again holding her energy bow with her new helmet here as well. And we've got that color accent down at the bottom. Again, the black text is a little bit harder to read. It says Omega Mercenary Gear down the bottom there. I love the way these artworks all line up on display. Very fun. Definitely keep the packaging for that. On the back, we have again another picture of the Omega figure posed with her bow. Very cool. The color stripe here says Star Wars The Bad Batch, and this figure is number 18 from the Black Series Bad Batch line. We have a little bit of a blurb about Omega here. It says, young clone Omega travels in tow with her brothers, the Bad Batch. Armed with her trusty energy bow, she is indispensable on their adventures across a rapidly changing galaxy. So, no spoilers there, but a really fun bio for the Omega character. Now, this is part of the plastic-free packaging, so we actually have a bit of a side image here of the figure and the accessories to give you an indication about what's in the box. And I think this one's really quite fascinating. Rather than having a helmet that fits on and off, we actually have 2 heads. Now, usually swapping heads makes me a little bit anxious because there's joins and things and I don't want to break anything, but I think this was a brilliant way to solve the issue of how to make a hat accessory fit over her sculpted hair, because her hair flows out a little bit, so that'll be really interesting. We also have what looks to be the folded version of her energy bow. The original Omega figure only came with the fully sort of extended one, so that's kind of fun. We've got an extra accessory here, and we can see that the figure inside measures 4.6 inches or 11.7 centimeters tall, so she is on the shorter side. I have to say the box is kind of light compared to some of the other figures, especially compared to Wrecker. He is a deluxe figure, very heavy in the box. But yeah, I do like the artwork, but I think the figure window was a much better choice, and very happy that Hasbro has returned back to that style. So there we go. Another good one to add to my lineup of Bad Batch boxes. It'll be good to get her added up next to her brothers. But now, time to get her out and take a closer look at the figure itself. I'm just going to snip the tape on the underside of this box. I do like to try and keep them as intact as possible because they make a really cool display on the shelf. So curious to see how she is packaged in here. These blind boxes do have very different style of packaging. So there we go. We've got lots of different little paper envelopes here. So I'm sure we've got some different heads. They always look like sort of wrapped up like Egyptian mummies in here, wrapped up in tissue paper. And I'm hoping this is the energy bow. That looks nice and secure. So let's get all of these little parcels out so we can open them up. I have to say, there's actually a fair bit of sellotape in this plastic-free packaging. I think that's kind of funny. I have to snip through a lot of sellotape here. Usually they're just like inserted into some of the sort of the cardboard tabs like this one here, but these ones are all secured in. That's kind of interesting. Probably why it didn't really rattle when I was sort of shaking it around. I thought that was interesting. Let's have a look. Let's get all of these out and let's get Omega herself in. It's kind of a shame that she costs the same as the other Bad Batch figures. She is a much smaller figure. The first one came with sort of a little lizard creature, which I thought was a fun accessory. Kind of added it out there. And I'm really hoping we get Omega from the 3rd season of the Bad Batch. And I hope they include Batcher with her as well. So I'm just going to open this up. I'm so excited to finally get my first look at the new Omega figure. Oh, that's really nice. I like her expression. That's really quite cool. So yeah, lots of articulation. Very nice. And then we'll open up some of these other parcels here. They've done a pretty good job of making everything pretty secure. This one's attached to cardboard as well, like that. That's kind of cool. Now, the first version of the energy bow was actually like assembled in a few components. I can see like this piece looks like you might be able to remove it. I'm going to be careful with that one. But this feels a little bit more sturdy. I'm very keen to compare the two to see if they've made any changes to the sculpting, because the other one kind of, you can pull it apart very easily. This one feels pretty sturdy, so I like that. And that was a nice way of keeping that all safe inside the box. And let's check out the other accessories here. We've got her alternate head with the sculpted hair. You can see why that would be almost impossible to fit under a helmet accessory. Very nice. I'm hoping that's not going to be too anxiety inducing to swap the heads over. And here we have the folded up energy bow. I really like the fact that we've got these two options now rather than just the original version, which was fully extended. Now we've got some different accessory and posing options. So let's clear away all this packaging so we can take a closer look and try out some poses. I have all of the packaging cleared away and now we can go over the figure. We see we've got those 3 accessories, which I'll take a closer look at very shortly. But of course, Omega is the star here. I want to take a closer look at this figure. I really like the facial sculpt. I think it's interesting. I definitely think it's different to that first one. Very keen to compare the two, but I want to take a closer look at the articulation. So she's going to have some unique movements here because she is so different to the standard Black Series figure. She's so much shorter. She's very thin compared to some of the other figures like Wrecker and that. So I'm really keen to see what some of the movements are going to be. She has got her sleeves rolled up. So we do unfortunately get the articulation points over flesh, which never really works. You never can quite hide it the same way that you can with, say, Stormtrooper armor and things like that. So one thing I can see here, the plastic of this feels like a different color than her arm. That is a little bit unfortunate. So I'm probably going to try and pose her with her arm like that up, because once I put the arm up, that articulation almost completely disappears. We've got now it's showing at the back, which is a much better option. You can kind of see the color difference on the elbow there. It's definitely different colors, eh? Yeah, that's a bit of a shame. I really wish that was a little bit of a better match, because we also have that same issue here at the wrist, where it's like I don't know, sort of more just a generic beige color, not matching her skin tone here. And we're going to have the same issue on this arm. Again, looks much better if I fold her elbows in and we sort of hide that more towards the back there. Very odd that they did not match those two to be the same, especially on such an exposed elbow joint there. This hand, the joins are at the side, so perhaps a little less noticeable. It's not on the back of the hand like it is over here, but we can certainly see that at the sides there, a little less noticeable. I still think that is a shame, and of course was not visible because of that plastic-free packaging with no window. So we've got standard modern sort of articulation here with the head. A little bit anxious about trying to pop this off in a little bit to try that other sculpted head detail on it. I do really like the helmet that they've got here. She does wear it a lot on the show. We can see we've got her blonde hair all feathered out of the back. That's very nice. We've got a tiny little bit of extra plastic on the edge of her cap here. It's just sitting against her cheek, but it's a little bit less noticeable when looking from the front, so phew. It's not too much of a sort of an eyesore there, just a little bit extra. Sometimes if you're really brave, you can sort of go in there with an X-Acto knife and kind of clean up little extra bits like that. It's a little bit close to the face. I'm not sure if I'm game enough on that one, but I like the painting detail here on her hat, on her helmet. It's got this really weathered yellow texture pattern here. We've got all of the lines across the top. We've got ridges for the brim of the helmet here as well. Really like that. I like the look of her sleeves rolled up. This is really quite nice, kind of just gathered there above the elbows. I think that looks really nice. And we've got a pocket here, and this side is straight, just with the sort of fabric gathering there. We've got this two-tone blue jacket over a red shirt, and then we've got this extra sort of brown bandolier belt with this little extra detail here on the front. So I don't see an attachment point. The belt goes all the way around, and I don't see a join on it actually. That's got to be like put on as the figure is assembled. So I don't think you can take this off, not without damaging it. I don't see a join at all on this. That's really quite impressive. I don't see a join. We've got a little peg here, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to put this on the back. It looks like there is like a little peg here in the center. Oh, that'll be good if we can put that on her back. That'll be quite nice. And because this figure is so short, she doesn't have a mid-seam sort of under the chest articulation like some of the stormtroopers and the taller figures. You can kind of do the ab crunch because there is an articulation point in the middle of the torso. She is too short for it. So she doesn't really bend forward apart from at the hips, but there is a little bit of movement. Very tight. It's got, it's a little bit better that way. It's clicky. So she does hold to the side well, but that's a bit stiff. She is small, so the range of movement is just going to be reduced as well. So it looks like she's got pretty clear sculpting around her hips. So I'm expecting pretty much an unencumbered range of motion here. So we can go pretty wide on the legs and out to the side and everything. We've got that top thigh rotation. Very easy there. We've got the knees. Nice and easy. I like the sort of wrinkling of the pants. It's a shame that the hinge becomes so exposed on the knees, but I do like the way it looks when she's standing straight. And it looks like we've got a seam here. I'm just going to see if I can hold that. Yes. We've got another point of articulation here between the boots and the knees, where we can sort of rotate the boots around. That's really interesting. And then we've got, very, very tight ankle articulation here with her boots. This one is, the join is kind of, I don't know, it's almost like sticking out here on this side. I'm not sure what's going on there. It's like I wonder if I can sort of push that in a little bit. It's like caught on the edge of the boot and is sticking out a little bit because this side looks cleaner. Not quite sure what's going on there. It's kind of giving her a bit of a lumpy, you see her boots kind of tipping in a little bit. Didn't seem to affect her ability to stand up though. Of course, I've now gone and moved her around a lot. So yeah, I'm hoping I'll just forget that that's there, because that does look a little bit odd, the way that that's just kind of sticking out there a little bit. But we can still pose her, which is the important part. Now, pretty clean on the back. Minimal paint jobs. Most of this looks like it is kind of sculpted out of the plastic. That's probably why these boots are just articulated here, because they've just sculpted these all in the plastic colors that we see here. I've got a little bit of paint here at the red wrist wrap here, and a little bit on the chest, but overall, really, really tidy. Nice. Okay. I'm going to have to pop this head off. This makes me really anxious. I've done it once or twice by accident, trying to do some articulation, but this one I got to do it on purpose, which makes me very anxious. So just going to take a closer look at this headpiece. Again, we've got her iconic hairstyle. This is actually quite pointed across the back. There's no way a helmet would fit over that. It's almost got quite a serrated feel to it with all of that hair. Very cool. Okay, here goes nothing. Let's see how well this pops off. Very tight. Okay, oh, there we go. Okay, let's see, join. Let's see how easily this is going to pop on. It's going to be stiff, isn't it? Okay, is that going on all the way? Kind of felt like it bedded down there. I think that's where that one's going to sit on this one. Looks a little high. I don't know if that's going to go down any further. I think that's on about as far as that one's going to go down. I think that looks good. That was rough. Holding on to this is actually, you can see it's made little hair indents in my thumb because I was pressing hard on that. That's quite a sharp edge to that. I really like the face sculpt for Omega. She has such a unique look. They've kind of given her, it's not quite a smile, but she's got a lovely face here. And now we can take a closer look at the other accessories. I've just got that spare head there in the background looking a little bit morbid there. Yeah, I think this looks really cool. I don't know which version I like, to be honest. She looks a little bit more frowny in this sculpt. This one looks a little bit more softer, a little bit more smiley, happy. I think that's interesting that we've got the two different facial expressions, not just the different sculpting of the hair and helmet pieces. That's really cool. So we've got the folded up energy bow. There is a little bit of movement here. This feels like it's all sculpted together, but then these pieces I can kind of flex. We can see we've got like a little pig part there, but I feel like that's supposed to be sort of attached rather than sort of coming apart. Nice gold painting with these dark grey edges there. Very nice. And we've got this one little pig here in the middle, which I'm hoping is going to fit against her back. And I don't remember. I'm going to have to watch an episode again. Not that I need an excuse to watch more Bad Batch episodes, but I don't remember which way round on her back it goes, whether it's sort of this part pointing up or the other part. I'll have to watch season 2 again. There we go. That fits on nicely onto her strap, and I can swivel that around. It's got a little bit more of a catch point here. Let's see if it fits on that way. Still looks just as good. I feel like I want to put it that way. I could be completely wrong. I feel like it sits against her back, but a little bit easier there. Very nice. I really like the sort of the darker gold color for her energy bow. And let's take a closer look at this one. So this one feels pretty secure, because I remember unboxing the first version of Omega. This particular section, it is made separately. You can kind of just see the peg attachment points here, but this is like properly glued on. It's not falling off. And something about this is feeling quite different to the first one. So I'm gonna, just for a moment, bring in the original Omega figure. because I want to have a look at her accessories. But first, let's compare the two. And I thought it was interesting to compare the hair and the sculpted figures of these two, because this is the first version. Of course, some time has passed, so I was curious to see if, I'll get this one to stand up, she is taller. So they've sort of aged her up a little bit, which I think is really quite cool. And we've got very different colored hair. This one's a lot darker. We've got a very sort of yellow blonde hair for the original season 1 version. And then this one is a darker color. And we've still got a lot of that sort of feathering going on at the back. That's really nice. Wow. I gotta say, I think the face on this one is an improvement. I think it just looks a little bit more like Omega compared to the first one. I think they got the likeness a little bit better. I know it can be hard to sort of render young children in toy form. It just kind of becomes, you know, a little bit more of a generic face because, you know, we all get more defined features as we age. So I feel like the slightly older Omega looks more like Omega as we see here in the animated series. I think that's really nice that there is a progression there. I was kind of curious to see whether they were going to be that different in the face. Very nice. Really liking this new figure. That's exciting. Okay, so just going to pop the figures themselves to the back, and I want to see the accessories. So this is the energy bow from the season 2 one that we're taking a look at, and this is the original one that came with the season 1. And if I just to demonstrate, this piece comes off so very easily. I don't know if there's supposed to be glue in this, or whether it's designed to be removable, but it's got little pegs and I can slot it back on, like just like that. But I can immediately see there is a lot of differences here. This is not the same accessory. So if I try and put them side by side a little bit, this one, the sort of the drawn back string of the first season energy bow is quite straight. This one is very angled. And if I put them over the top, there's a lot of size difference going on here. I don't know if they've scaled it smaller so it looks more in scale to Omega. They've made the first one big so it looks like an adult weapon in a child's hand, so it looks sort of out of proportion to her. And for the second season, they've made it smaller so it feels more in scale to her, because you can see in those sort of emitter parts, the original one is much wider. And the circles are different sizes. That's really interesting. And just the fact that it's just a completely different angle as well. That's really quite cool. I honestly thought, you know, without being able to sort of compare them side by side by the box art, I thought they were going to be the same thing. And the color finish is a little bit different, probably the same. It's probably just my eyes looking at it a little bit differently. And we've got a little bit of a detail difference here as well. There is like a box on this one that is not on this one here as well. That's really quite interesting. Going to be very careful not to mix these up for the figures on display. Fascinating. Very cool. Okay, so we've got that original one with its wonky chip pins there with the original figure, and this one. I feel like if I really pulled on this, I could probably break it and pull it off, but I'm not going to, obviously. But very nice. So I kind of wish this one, I guess because she doesn't have a bandolier or any way to stow the folded up energy bow, it makes more sense for this figure to have it, because now she's got the sort of bandolier sort of harness that she can put that on. I think that that's really fun. Another fun accessory to go with this figure, as well as having a different head sculpt. I will have to see if I can bed the head down a little bit better. It feels a little bit tall, but it just doesn't want to go down well. Sometimes there's just that tiny little bit of plastic that's just stopping it from going down. It doesn't look disproportionate, and it does articulate well. But I want to see now how we can pose this. It is a little bit tricky to pose. I don't know how they've got her holding it on the figure. If we can, thinking this is what she's going to be holding on to. And this is going to be a little bit tricky. It's one of those ones where I'm going to be spending quite a while later on fussing with trying to get this one on display, because this figure is going to go straight on with my other Bad Batch Black Series figures. Okay, let's see. This is such a unique weapon. I'm not, like, I know how to get lightsabers and hands and E11s and things like that. This one is so different. It's a little bit harder to figure out how they're going to hold it, but I think that looks pretty cool. I'm going to get different poses with playing around with her arms a little bit better, but that looks really good. That handle makes this one so much easier for her to hold on to. That hand fits very nicely around that. Just had to work with the thumb a little bit to get around that piece of plastic, and that end cap goes well in her hand there as well. Very nice. Always good when you don't need to wrestle too much with the hands, particularly the ones that can move at the wrist. You tend to sort of end up just moving the hand around while trying to get them to hold onto something. I think she looks amazing. And I'm still not decided which version of the head. I like her slightly softer smile on the sculpting of this one. But I know if she's got her weapon out, it's probably more accurate to have her helmet on because she is in combat. But this looks really cool. Always fun when you open up these blind boxes, essentially, and get your first look at the figure in person, and everything looks good. Nothing's broken, nothing's missing, and I can do some cool poses. This looks really cool. I do kind of wish this was a little bit more closely bedded down. There's just a tiny gap here. I'm not sure if that is going to be, I feel like that might be glued like that. It's not like a flaw. I just kind of wish it was just a little bit tighter. It's very neatly matched up at the top. There's just a little bit more of a gap at the bottom. It's just a personal preference. But there we go. I think she looks really nice. Got to figure out her posing. And I'll probably put some pictures up of her doing a couple of different poses with her bow. I think that was an improvement. It just looks so much more like Omega than the first one. I've got to collect up as much Omega merchandise as I can. I really hope we don't have to wait too long for a season 3 Omega, and I won't give any spoilers, but of course we know that she does have Batcher with her in season 3. I want that as an accessory in this line, especially since that first season one came with this very cute little lizard creature. I think that would really be fun because of course she befriends a lot of animals on the show, so I feel like it's almost a shame she didn't have a creature accessory with this one because she is smaller. I feel like they could have added in a little bit more plastic, considering that for us here, certainly in New Zealand, these aren't particularly cheap figures, especially when we compare her being the same price as the other Bad Batch figures. Wrecker excluded, he was a deluxe one. He cost even more, but really, really happy with this figure. I think she looks amazing. I love the sculpting, the accessories, the different options. We've got, you almost need like a double, like an extra one, so you can pose her with the different head sculpt and the different accessory, so you can put them in different scenes. Absolutely brilliant. Very, very happy. What a wonderful way to celebrate the Bad Batch. Again, not spoilers, but I really do love her storyline and those scenes in the final episode. I really hope we do see Omega in some form down the line, whether it be in a comic or a video game or, you know, fingers crossed, maybe she would even turn up in a live action series someday. I want to see her and more of her story. And now I have a Black Series figure to add to my collection alongside this version. I need more Omega. Absolutely awesome. I had so much fun. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I opened up another Star Wars Black Series Bad Batch figure to add to my collection and had a lot of fun. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the galaxy, and let's hang out again really soon. May the Force be with you. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, check out our other videos, and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.